One piece of advice has been whispered, shouted, and drilled into the skulls of new drivers everywhere for as long as people have been learning how to drive. Never use engine braking. It will damage your engine. Ask around, and you will hear accounts of driving instructors waving their fingertips at anxious students. Mechanics are cautioning clients to use your brakes. Old-timers at the gas station are adamant that engine braking is a novice error. However, what if all of that was a fabrication? What if the very thing you were advised not to do is one of the most effective methods for extending the tenure of your car, saving money, and ensuring your safety on the road? The startling reality is that engine braking is not your adversary. It is your concealed weapon. And the reason you have been deceived for such an extended period? It all boils down to a significant amount of money, obsolete information, and half-truths. The truth about engine braking. We should commence with the fundamentals. When one's foot is lifted from the accelerator, engine deceleration occurs. At that instant, the engine ceases to inject fuel into the cylinders. Rather than producing electricity, it functions as an air compressor. The axles are slowed by the engine's compression, which is its inherent resistance. This effect is exacerbated in manual vehicles when the driver downshifts into a lower gear. The engine accelerates abruptly, opposing the vehicle's momentum and offering resistance that causes the vehicle to decelerate without the driver applying the brake lever. Modern automatic transmissions are equipped with systems that replicate this behavior. The myth's origins. Therefore, where did the notion that engine deceleration is detrimental originate? In order to comprehend this, it is necessary to revisit the inception of transportation. Engines were less refined during the 1950s. The transmissions were not as durable, the oil quality was subpar, and the clutch systems were susceptible to wear. A driver may exceed the red line, overstress the clutch, or even fracture a piston if they downshift excessively. Mechanics began to issue warnings to customers, stating, "Do not use the engine brake. It will damage your motor." The issue is that those warnings were predicated on the technology of the past. Today's engines and transmissions are significantly more sophisticated. Oil formulations are engineered to endure duress. Over-revving is prevented by electronic rev limiters. Torque converters and clutches of the present day are designed to endure consistent load fluctuations. However, the legend endured. The advice was simplified by driving schools because it was simpler to say, "Don't engine brake," than to explain the correct technique. The mechanics continued to reiterate it, partially due to habit and partially because it increased brake service work. Automakers, too, they were not motivated to rectify the narrative. The reasons for their persistence in lying: we should pursue the money. Brake systems are components that are subject to wear and tear. Pads, rotors, and calipers are intended to degrade over time and necessitate replacement regularly. This represents substantial revenue for auto stores and dealerships. The annual value of the global brake pad market is in the billions of dollars. Imagine the impact if millions of drivers worldwide implemented engine braking on every downhill, stoplight, and lengthy drive. The fatigue on the brakes would decrease significantly. Service intervals would be extended. Additionally, repair businesses would forfeit a substantial portion of their consistent, predictable revenue. Therefore, was the primary objective truly to preserve your engine, or was it a matter of safeguarding a revenue stream? The science of engine braking. The following is the actual outcome of applying the engine brake. Fuel cut off. In contemporary fuel-injected vehicles, the fuel injectors cease to function immediately upon the driver's release of the accelerator pedal. You are not consuming any fuel. That's correct. You are enjoying a complimentary ride. Vacuum resistance. The engine's throttle plate closes, preventing the free passage of air. The car is slowed by the braking force generated by the pistons as they struggle against this restriction. Heat reduction. By distributing the burden throughout the engine, you are preventing the kinetic energy from being released as heat into the brake rotors. Engines are engineered to regulate heat through coolant and lubrication systems, which is more efficient and safer than frying your brakes. The reasons truckers adhere to it. Why do professional truck drivers, who have accumulated millions of miles on their vehicles, depend on engine deceleration daily if it is so perilous? The Jake brake, which is officially known as the Jacobs engine brake, was introduced. The brakes are not simply tapped by truckers as they descend precipitous mountain passes. They activate the jake, a unique system that precisely opens exhaust valves, transforming the engine into a substantial air compressor. The outcome: unparalleled braking capability without the necessity of applying the brake lever. Trucks would exhaust their brakes within minutes on a descending grade in the absence of engine braking. Runaway semis would strewnly litter entire highways. The requirement for engine braking on specific routes by transportation companies and regulators should be sufficient to convince you that it is safe, effective, and functional. The advantages you were unaware of. We should further deconstruct it. Here are the reasons why engine deceleration should be implemented daily. Increased brake lifetime brake pads that are designed to last for 60,000 miles, as opposed to the standard 25,000. Rotors that are resistant to warping as a result of combustion. That is actual money that has been saved. Enhanced control. Engine braking prevents the wheels from locking up, regardless of whether you are traveling down a rainy street or a frigid mountain pass. It is more refined than abruptly applying the brakes. Fuel efficiency is achieved by utilizing no fuel during deceleration. This is the reason why hypermilers, who are devoted to extracting every mile from a gallon, rely on engine deceleration. Reduced maintenance costs. A reduction in the amount of tension placed on the brakes results in a reduction in the number of emergency repairs. Additionally, there is no discernible disadvantage due to the fact that contemporary engines are engineered to accommodate it. The exclusive occasions. It is an issue. It is important to emphasize that engine deceleration is not entirely reliable. The following are a few instances in which it may go awry. Over-revving, the engine can be stressed, and your RPMs can be spiked when you downshift too aggressively into a low gear. That is a result of driver error, not engine braking. Old clutches. The clutch may be worn out more quickly in very old manual vehicles due to excessive downshifting. Modern closures, however, are considerably more resilient. More frequent brake replacements are advantageous for mechanics. The sale of brake parts and services is profitable for automakers. And as a result, generations of drivers were instructed to be apprehensive about a technique that could enhance their driving abilities. Concluding thoughts. Engine braking is not the scoundrel you were led to believe. It is not causing damage to your vehicle. Your powertrain is not being degraded. It is not a hazardous habit to avoid. It is a cost-saving, safe, efficient, and intelligent instrument that has been disregarded by an inordinate number of drivers. The myth has endured for this extended period due to its convenience for mechanics, automakers, and instructors. However, is it practical for you? Not at all. The next time you are driving down a hill, approaching a stop sign, or merely coasting in traffic, keep in mind that your engine is not solely designed for speed. It is also used to reduce the pace. They misled you regarding engine slowing. You are now aware of the truth. If this has enlightened you, please press the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Do you currently employ engine braking, or were you deceived by the myth, like the millions of others?